Here's something most experts get backwards about visibility. They think the goal is to get in front of more people. But my guest today says that there's a smarter move. It's to get in proximity to the right people. And there's a real difference between those two things. One is broadcasting, the other is building. Today, we're talking about what it actually looks like to turn your network into a client attracting ecosystem, not through louder marketing or more aggressive posting schedule, but through strategic collaboration and what Melanie calls the rising tide effect. If you've been treating networking like a necessary evil or casting your visibility wide and hoping something sticks, this conversation is going to reorient you and how you think about building your authority entirely. Now, I want to do a formal introduction of Melanie, even though I know her very personally, because I'm just going to tell you, Melanie is a powerhouse. I have known her for a long time. I love her. And we'll talk more about how we're connected, but let me tell you just a little bit about her background. Melanie Benson is the go-to authority amplifier for expertpreneurs who are ready to monetize their visibility and claim their industry leadership. With over 2 decades of experience helping experts and industry leaders break out of best-kept secret mode, Melanie specializes in turning overlooked brilliance into profitable growth channels. A pioneer in the podcasting world, Melanie hosts the Amplify Your Success podcast, ranked in the top 1% globally, where she shares proven visibility and monetization strategies. Her work has been spotlighted in Authority Magazine, Bloomberg Businessweek, Women's Day, and Parenting. A community builder since 2001, Melanie founded the Rising Tide Collective for established experts who co-create through collaboration, the key to building a collaboration ecosystem full of high-value visibility opportunities. Welcome, Melanie, to the show. Like, oh my God, I'm so darn excited to be talking to you.
I love your show, by the way. I am a listener. And when you invited me to come on the show, I was like, oh, yes. Like, I love these episodes so much. I can't wait to be in one of them.
Yeah, for those of you guys listening, I know it's so funny. I know Melanie from back in the days when I was an OBM. And that was like, honestly, probably back in 2018, maybe 2019. It was before California introduced their AB5 laws and I abandoned that work. But I reconnected with Melanie, I don't know, was it Threads?
I think it was. I think it was on social media. Yeah, Threads, I think.
So weird, but I'm so glad I did because we now have a completely different kind of relationship. I am one of the founding members in the Rising Tide Collective. And I can just tell you, everything I've learned about collaboration, I've learned from Melanie. She's amazing. So I can't wait to share everything that we're going to be talking about. So why don't we start? Because I think the concepts that you teach are very, I don't know if they're new as much as different than how most people do visibility and collaboration. And you have this concept that you called spray and pray. Help us understand the difference between that spray and pray effect versus actually building a real ecosystem.
Yeah. So I can't coin spray and pray. I think a lot of people talk about spray and pray, but that idea is that you're kind of just just throwing stuff out there. You're spraying your message across multiple channels. There's probably a winging it vibe to it where you're like, okay, what's going to stick out there? And you're praying that one of your social media posts, one of your emails, one of those podcast exposures is going to grab the attention of your ideal audience and move it to the finish line.
Mhm.
And what I notice happens in the spray and pray, we could use that analogy over a lot of things around marketing,
Sure.
but what I notice happens is exhaustion,
Mhm.
overwhelm, message dilution, and just this like you become part of the noise.
Yes. Yes, I know that feeling.
Yes, I
Mhm.
think we all do. And in an ecosystem, and there's a lot of ways I use the ecosystem, but for this conversation, let's even just layer in intentionality.
Okay.
An intentional, strategic visibility ecosystem
Mhm.
that is built on value, relatability, and collaborative relationships that
Mhm.
open doors where your aligned audiences need and want what you have to say. And what I notice in that model, when
Mhm.
you've really built up this kind of ecosystem that starts with being intentional about your visibility and then amplifies through building this collaborative network, if you will, is that you're spending less time, but what you put in multiplies exponentially because you have absolute clarity. Who are my people? And I know, Lori, we've
Mm.
talked about this. We talk about this out in Rising Tide. It's like everyone doesn't need what you do.
Yes.
Everyone isn't the right place for you to be visible. Everyone can't be a good collaboration partner, but the
Right.
right people, that's when the magic comes to life.
Yeah. And, I want to speak to this because I can personally say I'm exhausted with visibility. So, am I doing the spray and the spray and pray? I hope not. I think I'm probably in between the spray and pray and full on intentionality. I think I'm very intentional about who I connect with, like who I talk to, what summits I might sign up for, who I might do podcast guesting with, what my messaging is all about. But where I'm really struggling right now is where
Mhm.
where is my community? I'm so spread thin between Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, my own podcast, other collaborative relationships I'm in. And now, of course, because of you, Melanie, I'm like experimenting with Substack.
That double-edged sword, right? It's like I'm learning all of where the cool things are happening. And oh my God, I just added something else to my plate. I totally relate.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm adding Substack right now as a test and as a possible replacement for social media. Okay. And we don't need to say any more about that. But yeah, I feel like I'm in between. Like I'm getting intentional. I'm getting very intentional, even with like collaboration partners that I'm, bringing into my ecosystem. Um, it's a lot. I think a lot of people are really, really exhausted right now.
I think we are seeing a collective exhaustion. And I don't know that it's just because of the visibility. I think, we've talked about this in Rising Tide, where we've explored, our industry overall is going through a radical transformation. I think it's an up-leveling, but
Mhm.
with that, a lot of things that used to feel easy or maybe expanded without a lot of kind of pushing it forward. People are like, what actually is going to work right now? There's a lot of experimentation and exploring. I don't know that anybody has real answers. What I
Yeah,
do know is we all know what's not working, and that is just being part of the noise.
sure. Mhm.
What we know we are leaning into is community, connection, that
Mhm.
human connection, that being part of something that feels like it's raising our vibration, that's raising our
Mhm.
awareness.
Right.
I don't remember if it was our call or another one that I hosted the other day for another group I'm in, but somebody literally said, just being in that conversation,
Mhm.
being part of a community that's having the kinds of conversations that we're having was worth the time because their reality was suspended and they could access a possibility they can't get to on their own. And I was
Right.
like, that's what Rising Tide's all about. That's what's like when you're in proximity to the right people.
Yes.
You get plugged into the potential, the possibility, new thinking, different perspectives, a better way maybe, or a more aligned way. So I wanted to kind of layer that in, but I also want to just dive into what you brought into the conversation, Lori, about we're exhausted with visibility that's not moving the needle.
Yeah.
And I think that's because as we dip our toes into how do we collaborate in a way that feels aligned, first of all, we have to know what brings our magic alive.
Right.
Where is the collaborations where the needle moves, and where are the collaborations where like that was way too much work for what I got back out of it, right? And
Right.
I don't know a better way to say it except oftentimes we have to explore and test and say, not that, more of that. And that part of it is being in a community where you learn what works and what doesn't work, but part of it is also self-exploration, trying it out.
Yeah.
I think the second thing is boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe we might even just layer into that discernment.
Yes.
Right. And many of us have a bit of the bright, shiny object syndrome, some ADHD, depending on our human design. We might have a little bit of kind of like, I can do it all. You know, there's the superhero or superwoman syndrome. And we don't realize that we can't do it all. And when we try to do it all, we're burning ourselves out, but we're also burning out our list. We're oversaturating the conversation in our communities. And so it's about really understanding what's aligned for me and how much of this can I do so that it's expanding rather than contracting.
Yeah. And that's just such a loaded a loaded conversation, just a loaded just the discernment. I mean, I know I'm going through that now because I mean, I think you know me. I'm very much an overgiver. Like I will give and give. I love collaborating and I will help whoever I can help. But I have found myself in situations where it's like, okay, like I just burnt myself out, probably burnt my list out, trying to be helpful to someone that gave like nothing back. How do we like, let's talk about the discernment because I think how do we discern? I'm kind of in this space right now where as I'm building out my partnerships, right? I gave and gave and gave to this one particular partner, hosted a JV webinar, really like promoted her, had her on my podcast, whatever, reached out to see if she'd be interested in collaborating with me. And it's dead silence. And I'm like, wow, okay. Like, that's interesting. Like, and I think we start telling ourselves stories about that. But it is like a discernment thing. What do we do in situations? How do we make decisions about who is someone good for us to collaborate with?
Well, there's a couple layers. One, I started using a bit of like a set of factors. Because what's important to me isn't necessarily important to someone else. And so we have to individually decide what are my values, what are my priorities around collaboration. And so these could be things like there is reciprocity. It could be things like we swap shows. It could be things like there's a bigger picture reciprocity that we're both committed to, even if it's not even in the moment. So you have to get really clear. And this is kind of like that muscle we all have to strengthen.
Okay.
Having the conversation and asking the big questions like, what does collaboration mean to you? And what would you consider a win from a collaboration we might do together? Is a different conversation than, hey, I'm hosting this event, or I'm looking for someone to host my webinar. Would you be willing to host it? Right? Like, so oftentimes we say yes to the immediate opportunities,
Right.
without diving into the bigger picture expectations. And
Mm.
then we do it once, twice, 5 times, 10 times. We're like, hold on, I'm doing all the giving. And I'm not getting the win-win-win. So my premise, and I don't know if it's a movement or if it's a mission, maybe it's an integration of both, but let's just say I'm on a mission to
Okay.
recalibrate the experience that especially women like us are having
Mhm.
around collaboration. I want women to come alive in the right, like, collaboration relationships. And
Right.
that means we have to look at what's win-win-win. What's the win for me?
Explain that. What does
Yeah.
win-win-win actually mean?
Win for me,
Mhm.
meaning I'm getting some of my needs met, whether that's I'm building my list, I'm attracting buyers, I'm getting exposure, whatever that is. So win for my host, whatever it is that they need, they're getting. So they're getting a great speaker, they're getting maybe people coming onto their list, they're getting the win that they need. And then there's a win for the audience.
Mhm.
And the audience has to get the value too, because if they're not, no one else is getting the needs met that they have in the equation. And I see a lot of collaborations start with one win.
Mhm.
I need to get on someone's podcast. I'm going to do a podcast tour. I don't
Sure.
have anything to exchange except for my value, but
Sure.
that might be a win for the guest, and it might be a win for the audience. But is there a win for the host? You can only do that so many times as a host
Yes. Right.
before the energy starts to fade. That's why I think we have pod fade around so many guest-based podcasts, because
Mhm.
there's nothing underneath it to sustain the host. Another topic for another time.
Yes, exactly.
That's my win-win-win principle. And I really think when we understand if it's not a win on all 3 levels, it's probably not worth pursuing. Then we create space for the greater wins to emerge.
Okay. So let's talk to the people, even like myself. You've been in this collaboration game for a long time, but let's talk to the people who are like, yeah, you know what? I really do love collaborating, but I'm kind of new at this, and I kind of like to understand like what needs to be in place for me to like begin, like, I guess, partnership building.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the first thing is, so there's some layers that I believe have to be in place, and this is actually how we originally met, Lori. I don't know if you remember this, but you came to something I teach called Activate Collaboration Currency, and I
Okay.
walk people through a roadmap of what do you want to get out of collaboration, and who could you be collaborating with? What is the avatar of that, and what are you going to collaborate around? So
Yeah.
even before you get into proximity and you enter into a community that maybe could get you in front of people who want to collaborate, you have to ask yourself, what is it that I want? What is it that I can offer? And am I ready for that? I have something called the collaboration X factor, because I believe many of us know there's value in collaboration, but we don't have our stuff in place. And so even if you do move the needle forward, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I'm not ready. This is taking up too much time. I don't have my assets in place, as you know, because you recently put a lot of your assets in motion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to know who's going to be a good collaboration partner.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to collaborate around? And then third, I call it it's like the visibility piece of it. What can I do that is just the best way for me to broadcast my light, broadcast my message, be seen, that creates this really powerful energetic response in my audience? So is it giving a guest interview? Is it speaking on a stage? Is it maybe doing something more like where you're not in the front and center, where it's an exchange of lead magnet emails to each other's lists? Is it co-hosting webinar? Like, what is the best needle mover? When you do that, you get clients coming in, you get visibility compounding, and it's like everybody's in that win-win-win energy.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I find challenging about the whole win-win-win concept and the finding the right partners and making it like mutually collaborative, right? we all have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of energy, a limited amount of times that we want to like blast our email list. And so I'm always thinking, oh my gosh, like I've reached out to this person. They serve the same audience as me. I really like them. I've connected with them in the past. I think they would be a great collaborative partner. And sometimes, like, I start asking myself, like, besides commissions on, offers that they might get commissions on, like if they, promote one of my offers and they get commissions on it, besides that, what am I offering them? Yes, I'm offering their audience something valuable. But I find myself thinking, oh my gosh, like, do I need to have this person on my podcast? Do I need to share one of their resources now? And so I'm very careful, I guess, even hesitant to ask for a partnership because I'm not always sure how much time, energy, like my podcast right now is booked through the end of the year. So it's like, okay, oh, I can offer you a guest spot in 2027. Like, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we balance that of like creating, like, I don't know. I feel like, all right, I have to just have like a limited number of partners because I can only promote so many partners.
Mm-hmm.
Other people who have
Okay.
big collaborative efforts going on, I mean, they're like, their email list and promotional calendar is completely full. Like, they don't even have time to look at you.
So what I hear you asking is, how do we balance this win-win-win and make it a viable part of our growth fuel, right? Like I
Yes.
call it growth fuel for our business. Well, let me take a step back and say, I want to address something that you brought up in the last question, and you kind of mentioned it again. And sometimes it's the right partner, but the wrong timing.
Okay.
And so when we collaborate in the long game, we're not just saying, I need people to promote right now. We're looking at this like this is longevity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so where can we collaborate? Like I have people in my ecosystem that we have talked about collaborating for over a decade. And
Oh,
it
wow.
just was like we never found the right time. Well,
Okay.
there are other things that have happened because they know who I am, they recognize my expertise. So, they may have referred me people. They may have said, hey, Melanie would be a great speaker for this. Or they may have introduced somebody to Rising Tide, right? So there's a lot of ways that collaboration can look. It doesn't necessarily have to be the exchange of a visibility opportunity. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to bring that in. And sometimes we have to recognize that not everybody is a collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who whatever the circumstances of their life, maybe where they're at in their own mindset right now, they're just very much focused on the solo drive.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so they're not interested in it. And maybe they haven't gotten over the hump of feeling like the effort doesn't, translate to enough results for them because they need to join Rising Tide, right? So there's that. I think secondly, we have to look at collaboration. Yes, there's the exchange, but we have to look at what else is happening. And sometimes that compounding effect is so much bigger what we can tangibly measure. I want to let that sink in for the listeners because as you're listening in, I want you to think about, and this was a huge learning moment for me.
Okay.
One of my best friends, we started collaborating early on, and we were talking about the speaking opportunity. And I said, wow, I didn't get really any leads from it. And she said something to me that I will never forget. And it stuck with me and it's become a big part of me building my ecosystem. And she said, yes, but look at who you were seen on stage with. That positioning was priceless, wasn't it? I was like, oh, snap. I was really in a scarcity mindset around that. And I need to rethink my whole vision because when done well, and you really look at the bigger compounding effect of the collaboration opportunities, you may not get anybody coming in the immediacy, but you being seen on stage with a brand name or a well-known celebrity or somebody who's kind of has a lot of influence in their market, or someone who serves your ideal audience, you never know how that's starting to activate behind the scenes. If you know how to really work every opportunity, you're going to be connecting with the other speakers. You're going to be building presence with them. Even if they don't respond to anything in the moment, you're getting on their radar, and you never know how that ripple effect starts to kick in. So that's the second part. And then the third is that there is a depth that can outweigh the game of more, right? And so when we look at, if I have a limited quantity of time, of podcast guest spots, of ability to promote somebody, how do I go quality over quantity?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to being intentional and really having clarity about what is important for us to collaborate around. What is my measure of success? What does this need to do for me? And now there's a lot of people that are super edgy and ruthless about this. I'll tell you, there was somebody who was a very well-known marketer who was putting an event together, and she had very high standards. You had to hit 200 opt-ins to her event in your first promotion, or you got kicked out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I don't think this is the right game for me, right? Like, that's just not how I roll. I didn't really feel like that measure was something I could lean on. There are people who gamify it and say, hey, you're going to win some awards, or there's some other things at an opportunity to win cash or prizes or experiences when you promote more and you hit those higher enrollments. There's just a lot of ways to measure it and evaluate it. And I think that that's where we have to just say, what's right for me? Do I want to go deeper, or do I want to find ways to do more?
Yeah, I love that reframe, because I'm a depth person, and I've been in a collaboration where it was gamified, and hey, I'm a Capricorn. I am competitive and ambitious as they come, right? But I was turned off by that. It's just like, no, I'm very heart-centered. It just didn't sit well with me. I continue to do it, but I told myself in that moment, this is the last time I will collaborate with that person, because it just didn't feel like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like me.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was someone who was talking about this subject. And she was talking about what her boundaries were, of like, I think she was saying things like, is it easy for me to do it? Is it, I don't remember all of her things, but she literally had a list of what those criteria that she goes through to decide if something is worth her time or not. What do you think
Are
about
you
that?
asking me what my thoughts are on that?
Yeah, sure. Of course. I'm open to anything. Or even what your own criteria is.
Oh, so what my criteria? Well, I hesitate to use the word easy. And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes the things that are easy don't necessarily have the biggest reward that come with it. So I'm wired, and this is a bit of just my own wiring and my own history, but I believe in moving the needle towards what I want. So I'm really, really clear. What do I want? I have tangible goals and really clear outcomes. And then I look at, is saying yes to this the most powerful thing I can say yes to that feels expansive?
Okay.
So I use the word expansive over easy, because the minute I start thinking easy, then I'm like, this was not easy. And I'm pissed off about it, right?
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, my expectations are shattered because this was a lot of work. But if I go with expansive, and I'm like, is this expanding me? Is this expanding my wisdom? Is it expanding my capacity? Is it expanding possibilities? Is it expanding my message in front of the right audiences? Then I'm playing a different game, and I want to play that game. That's how my wiring works.
Okay.
And so when I think about my criteria, I think about, okay, so is this going to expand me? Is this going to move the needle? Is this the best use of my team's time and my time? So this is a new criteria I've really been integrating more and more is this opportunity designed for that win-win-win? And is it the best place for me to be visible where my ideal clients are, where speakers and experts are that I want to be seen with and I could potentially open the collaboration door with? And does this person make me feel like I want to work harder for them?
Now that's
So,
an interesting
yeah,
area. Yes.
because when I really believe in somebody and I love somebody and I want to support somebody, and this is again going back to proximity, when I have a relationship with somebody, I'm going to bat for them in a very different way than a stranger who I don't know very well, who maybe isn't really developing some depth and connection to me. And they're just like, hey, here's the deal, promote, right? It's like, okay, I will fulfill my requirement. But when somebody I know and I believe in, like right now, I am looking in Rising Tide Collective, there are several people who have promotions. I am looking for how to add them into my calendar and promote them in a really cohesive way.
Because you know them and you're
Because I know them, I
Yes.
believe in them, I value their work, and I value our relationship, and I want them to win. That
Right.
to me is a rising tide. How
Yes.
do I lift somebody else up? Will it be easy? Probably not, but it will be expansive.
I love that. Like I actually applied to be I guess it would be a collaborator. Let's just say a collaborator for someone who I know runs pretty good events. And I would say probably 3-ish months ago, I kind of like claimed I am not doing any more of these summits where you're recording a presentation, submitting it, because people are not listening to them. Very likely they're not listening. So I'm giving a lot of my time, giving a lot of my value, probably never even getting listened to. So I just said, if I'm going to do that type of summit, it either has to be an audio summit, because like I'll listen to an audio summit, I'll go on a walk and listen to different speakers, or like some type of a resource bundle where I may look through things and see, oh yeah, I could use that, I could not use that. But this particular summit was a little different. And when you talk about expansive, oh, it will require expansion on my part. It's very interactive, very much like you show up for 3 days, you help with doing like offer audits, you are in the space, like literally helping people integrate like what they're learning. And I thought, wow, that's a heavy lift for me. This person doesn't know me. Someone else had recommended that I apply for this. I don't know if I will get accepted. I don't even, and if I do, I don't even know what the experience will be like. One of the things that goes through my mind before I make these decisions, and maybe you can help listeners and me with this, is how do you, when you don't know somebody, how do you know? Like, what do you look for to make sure that this is like a genuine collaborative partner that wants you to win, that wants their audience to win, that wants them to win, versus this is just all about me and my audience and growing my list and all of that? How do we be like really discerning about that?
First of all, you're going to love an episode I did recently where I talk about the declining impact of summits because of this very reason, right? Like not everybody's going into them with the same intention. I think first of all, there's ways to vet people without them knowing, and then there's ways to kind of do like an alignment check.
Okay.
First of all, if I don't know somebody, I am vetting their socials upside down, backwards.
Okay.
I'm looking at like, okay, so who referred me? Who? What is their? What are they delivering in social media? Are they showing up? Like, is there, especially this, I love this about threads. Like, you can actually kind of look back at conversations that people have, and you could see, do they actually show up and participate?
Right.
Or is it just a one-way transmission all of the time, right? Like, you can vet someone's vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I can go to someone's Instagram or Facebook and say, oh, okay, I see. This is like, we're going to use the term bro marketer for a minute. This is very bro marketing. It's very transactional.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, okay, this person's showing a lot of pictures about collaborations and co-creating connections with people. They're showing when they're featured on podcasts. They're demonstrating they're a guest on other people's stages as well as hosting their own, right? Like, you can get a kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
And if somebody is brand new to me, then I'm probably going to say, I want to have a conversation before I move forward. And I want to get a sense of how they show up in the conversation, right? Like, some people can be a bit dismissive. They can be a bit disconnected, and it's like they're not really interested.
That is such a good one.
Yeah,
and it's funny, I don't even think
it's a
about
vibe
it.
check.
Yeah, I don't even think about it when it comes to like me contributing to other people. I definitely think about it when it comes to guests on my show, because I'm thinking about my audience and I'm thinking about the quality of the interview. So like, there has to be a vibe. So I would say I meet 99% of my guests before they ever come on my show. Like, I know them, or I've had a 30-minute conversation with them to do an energy check and to do a vibe check. Yeah, that's critical. But I'm now, if I get accepted to speak at this summit, or not even it's more interact in this summit. Yeah. I'm going to ask to have a conversation, and I'm going to see how this person responds.
Yeah. And I think part of this is, again, like, do we share the value of collaboration? Because not everybody does. Everybody's doing these things for different reasons, and that's okay. But am I willing to be a part of their expectations? Like, I have somebody who I did a lot of events with for a few years, as we started to crest into 2020. And I found myself really resenting more and more and more every time I would say yes, because yes, I always made sales in the room. Check one of my boxes. But the process to get there was always changing. There were 17 criterias that would emerge in the middle of the engagement that weren't clear to me up front. I'm like, I can't do what you're asking for. You did not clearly identify that in the ask. And so that became a mismatch in the vibe. It's like, I get that's what you need, but the conditions you changed it to don't match what I'm capable of doing now. So I think things like that are important to pay attention to. But I also have people who I love their work so much. If they were to say, hey, I'm all in, or I'd love to have you speak at my event, and they tell me, hey, we're not getting numbers, I'll jump through hoops to make sure that we're getting numbers in the door. I'll give them 5 options of how I can help promote them that doesn't just look like me emailing my list. Because I want them to succeed, and I'm willing to really be all in on them. And I think, it just, again, collaboration is an individual game, but it is a exponential business accelerator when you understand how to do it and it feels aligned.
Yeah. So let's kind of close out this conversation, because you have started the Rising Tide Collective, or it's been, gosh, I don't even know how long it's been going on now. But that's one of the things that you talk about is the rising tide effect. So let's talk about, just unpack that for us. Like, that's something I don't think people go around saying, oh yeah, the rising tide effect. Like, this is Melanie. Okay. So talk to us about the rising tide effect.
It's really the idea that when one person rises, everybody rises. And I think that the term actually came from a John F. Kennedy speech, where he talked about when we rise, everybody rises, and like one boat rises, all the boats rise, and it's like the tide lifts all the little boats. That's what it is. The rising tide lifts all the little boats. And I really feel like when you're in proximity with people who are at the level of success that you are and or above, B, are highly influential and see possibility and are willing to open those doors, and C, are generous in their referrals and in their contribution to the community, but also have an expansive way of thinking. Like they're of a frequency and a vibration that you're in their space and you're like, oh my God, I feel transformed. Like this conversation just completely changed the way I want to think about my business. That's a rising tide. And
Yeah.
that's what I think separates what we're doing in Rising Tide Collective from a lot of other communities. No shade on any community, but
Sure.
some
Yeah.
of it is very transactional. Some of it's just
Mhm.
networking. It's like, okay, how many people can you meet? And all of that has a place and everybody's different and wants different things. I really wanted a community where whatever level it is for you, you show up and you're part of the rising tide. You're contributing to that, you're experiencing it, we're co-creating it together. And I think as a collective, many of us are going to be reshaped by the quality of the people we're spending the most time with.
Yeah. I think that is this whole concept of the rising tide. I think I'm always asking myself, how can I guess, be an example
Mm.
of a rising tide? And for me, it's about serving from a place of love. It's about expanding people wherever I can, like helping lift other people up whenever and wherever I can. It's about, for me too, it's about being myself, not afraid of like like talking about what's going on in my world. Like sometimes, I'll stop myself and think, oh God, what are people getting out of what I have to say? But it's like maybe they are. Like maybe they are. I always get so much out of what everyone says in the Rising Tide Collective, and I think we all have to be willing to share who we are without judgment of ourselves, judgment of other people, being in a place of love and not like winning in competition, and like all just like working together to raise everybody up. Is
I
that
love
like,
that.
what do you do for you? Like, I guess that's just me and how I look at the being a
Mhm.
rising tide. What does it mean for you to be a rising tide?
Well, first of all, I'm very moved by that. I love that so much. And you already are an example of that. And I think sometimes we forget how little micro movements have huge impact on people who maybe are looking up to us and where we're at in our trajectory right now. So, um, for me, I think part of it is um, being willing to change the narrative about collaboration.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That is the thing that I am committed to. It's my conviction that collaboration compounds our effect or compounds our growth. It is growth fuel for our business. But a lot of people have had an experience of it that tainted them and
Mm-hmm.
took away from what was possible. So I want to transform. I want to recalibrate and I want to up level what people could experience when they're in the right rising tide, when they're in the right room, and when they're
Yes.
collaborating with the right intentions and strategies. So that's my mission on that planet. And that's what my goal is to really look at not like, how do I move everyone at the same time, but like, what does that one person need to know that could transform the way they show up around collaboration? So I always say, I'm here to create positive transformation, one thought leader at a time.
I love
And
that.
if I can inspire one thought leader to collaborate in a way that's more aligned for them and it helps fuel their work in the world, that's what
Mhm.
I'm here to do.
Yeah.
And creating the community was like, I feel like we need a space that's really dialed into this culture at
Yeah.
this time.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's no community. I've been in a lot of communities. There's no community like the Rising Tide Collective. There really isn't. It's small, it's attentional, it's so deep, it's so reflective, it's so supportive and collaborative, and I think thought provoking too.
Mhm.
Like so thought provoking. So I know that we mentioned we can find you obviously on your podcast, Amplify Your Authority, right?
Success. Sorry, amplify your success.
All about success and authority. Melanie also has a new Substack called Growth Fuel. So if you're a Substack reader, writer, whatever, follow her there. Where else, like, can people like reach out to you? I know the Rising Tide Collective is a very intentional, application based community, and the people you bring in are just top notch.
I want to share a resource that might help people with recognizing where you're at as a collaborator. And maybe this might like be the perfect next step to take what we've talked about and go, okay, now where am I at with this? I call it the collaboration X factor, and it's how to unlock what's going to move the needle for you with collaboration. And I find that people are usually in one of three phases. And so it's a self-assessment, and you answer the questions. It'll take like 3 minutes. And once you do, you'll know what stage you're in and what are some next steps you could take that could actually help you start to move your collaborations forward. So if you go to melaniebenson.com/offer mojo, then you can start to see, what do I have to work with? What do I need to strengthen? And what is the path for me to get to collaborations that fuel my growth?
Awesome. So I'm going to drop that link, obviously, in the show notes. I did not know we had a special link for Offer Mojo community, but I love it. Any parting words that you want listeners to take away, just like that big light bulb moment, or
let's just bring this to a micro step that everybody can take. And I think sometimes collaboration can feel really big. And it actually starts with something really small, making the decision, I want to be part of a rising tide, whatever that looks like for you. It doesn't have to be in our community, but I want to be part of the transformation of being a giver, being generous, right? And you can start with something so small. Share someone's social post, give them some love on their podcast, make an introduction to somebody who maybe is looking for a great guest or who's looking for a speaking opportunity, right? Like, it can start so small, and then you can build on that. You can start to be more and more in the energy of it. I have a budget every week. I'm focused on taking 10 collaborative actions, whatever size, whatever it looks like. It can be small, it can be big, but that's my commitment to the collaborative work I'm doing now. Sometimes it's way more than that, but just start right where you are with one tiny little thing. And again, if you're on Substack, there's a couple of resources I share there as well. Just little things you can do to start being collaborative right now. Thank you for this conversation, Lori, so much.
Thank you.
I adore you.
A ClickUp task to do collaborative actions like every week. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So this was amazing. Thank you again for your expertise, for your wisdom, and mostly just for your generosity.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing too. And I can't wait to hear your breakthroughs as you're listening in. Give Lori some love for the show. She puts her heart and soul into the show. And I know it means the world to her when she hears from her listeners and they go, loved that episode.
Thank you.